Got the power.
All right, we're recording.
Sorry, I'm hyper.
Okay. I just needed a snack.
My ADHD hyper is out, so be careful. We're talking about gems too, so this will be fun.
You should already know what ours are by now.
Oh, we should let them guess.
Well, I posted mine today, so that really wouldn't work.
You guys guess what my gems are?
Welcome everybody to the call tonight. We're super thankful you guys took the time to be here, and Michelle and I bouncing back from our awesome weekend together. For those of you that were able to come, it was a blessing. For Rebecca opening her home, that was amazing. And then for everyone who didn't make it, just make it on your list for next year, because we're definitely going to host another retreat. Not at Rebecca's house though.
No?
It's like, well, no, like, because I think we're growing, you know what I mean? Like, which is a blessing.
I'm messing. No, it's good.
Yeah.
No,
but one of the things we talked a lot about this weekend, and we've shared a little bit about, but never really done a training on, is about gems, which is personalities. And if you ever studied the temperaments or the color code, like there's, gem is just, it was adapted by Dani Johnson, and her whole theory, which is kind of cool, is instead of calling someone a melancholic, why not call them an emerald? Like, because gems are precious. All of them are precious. All of them have value. And as they are polished and, I'm not like a jeweler, but what I'm saying, as they're precious stones, and when they're treated correctly and polished, and they become something beautiful, and they reflect a lot of beauty in the world. So tonight we're going to kind of share, refined. Thank you. We're going to share, what we've learned and how it's helped us in our leadership, and then also talk to you guys a little bit to help you dig in with, understanding yourself better. One thing I've loved about gems, it's also helped me understand my husband. I'm starting to understand my kids' personalities. It helps me with parenting. It also helps when you're trying to help a challenger to know how, or a coach when they become part of the team, to learn, how to not overwhelm them, how to motivate them, how to help them, how they think. Because if you only think everyone thinks like you, then you're going to get offended by anybody that's not like you. And then you're going to be comparing yourself and still get offended by people that are like you. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a really great way to think outside the box and really serve people.
And I think is Plato who said that the old adage, know thyself. And the more we read personal development, the more that we understand why knowing ourselves and knowing why we act certain ways, why we do certain things is important, because then we can understand why maybe we get frustrated in one situation versus not in another. And, we can tell lots of stories to explain that. But one of the things too with the gems, if you've ever done the colors, the gems I think are the same. Like ruby is red, emerald is green. So there's a lot of similarities in what Kelly was saying too, with melancholic and phlegmatic and all those names that there's no way I could ever have remembered those to start. It just kind of makes it easier. So do we want to just start by just kind of going over each gem and then talk about like ourselves and what we've discovered with the gems?
Do you want me to read, like, I have the descriptions I posted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. Yep.
Okay, got it. That's what I thought.
Why don't you read yours and I'll read mine?
There we go. That's what I was thinking. Okay, so my primary gem is a pearl, and my secondary is an emerald. I thought it was a sapphire, and I'll explain that later. And something we'll talk about a little bit later is there's certain gems that are opposites of each other, and what you'll discover, which is kind of cool as you get to know you, is sometimes we're raised by somebody that's an opposite of us, and we spend a lot of our time thinking we're supposed to be that way. And so as I've grown, that's where I've learned the emerald part of me is not that bad. So and so anyway, so pearl, you might be a pearl if your perfect gift, if someone was going to give you a gift, it's personalized and it shows that someone was thinking especially of you. So like for me, a card is like my cup of tea, a coffee cup, or something that is unique to me. Hint, hint. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so pearls hate confrontation. They thrive on being a part of something bigger than themselves. So you're motivated by cause. You love things that like service oriented because you want to be a part of something that's making a difference. You're likely quiet, introverted, and calm. People know and they can count on you and sometimes take advantage of that. And then with an emerald, you might be an emerald if your perfect gift is a new planner and color-coded stickers, which you can tell with me in the ARC system that I'm addicted to office supplies. Your systems have systems. Yes, I have lots of checklists in every room of my house. You often say, what's the bottom line? Excel is your playground. You're never late. Well, I have 6 kids, so I'm working on it. And you want to know all the details before you decide. So those are kind of, and the big thing is I would say like at 80% Pearl. Do you know what I mean? Because even when I read the Emerald stuff, I love when people can do spreadsheets, but I'm not playgrounding on Excel. You know what I'm saying? But Emerald is definitely my secondary, and it helps me understand how I think and how I process stuff. And something that was very valuable to me when I went to an event where we studied the gems is that I also learned, and then I'll turn it over to Michelle, when you learn your strengths, you also learn your weaknesses. As a Pearl, because I can often get it taken advantage of, I've had to learn how to set boundaries. I've had to learn that it's okay to tell people that I don't like what they said, because I used to think that was the meanest thing in the world you could do. And I would never tell someone when they hurt my feelings, because I would literally get stomach sick, throw up before I had to tell someone, that whole hating confrontation. Well, that's a part of my gem that I needed to grow in to be stronger. So when I was at this conference, she was talking about how pearls, they're sweet and innocent. And then you keep asking them and keep asking them. And then all of a sudden they snap and this like diabolical force comes out of their mouth. And I was like, yes, because I have a temper, and people usually don't think I have a temper. And I say bad words when I lose my temper. And you know what I'm saying? Like some of you have heard it because I'll like text you when I'm losing my temper because you're my safe person. But my point was I never understood why. And now because I know my weakness is boundaries, I've had to start learning to like say, I don't want to do that. I cannot do that. I don't like that you said that. Like, and Michelle and I'll share a little bit about that later, but even with my husband or my kids, it's okay to tell people no. Respectfully, it's not hurting them. You know what I mean? And so that for me, because that's my primary, was a huge growth moment, because I realized I don't have to be a doormat. And if someone doesn't like when I tell them no, that's fine. The book, The Best Yes by Lisa TerKeurst, was a huge blessing to me, because she said, in Boundaries by Townsend and Cloud was another great one, because they both talk about, if I told my mother-in-law, no, we're not coming home for Christmas, and she's upset, that's fine. She's allowed to be upset. I don't need to feel like I did something wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that was a huge sigh of relief. It's still uncomfortable for me. Like Michelle sometimes will be like, can you just be honest? I'm like, okay. And then I'll be honest. You know what I'm saying? But I'm
I had to tell her, I'm interrupting you here, but I seriously had to tell her, I'm like,
that's because she's a Ruby.
I said, Kelly, you need to stand up for yourself, or I will walk all over you and I will drive back and forth.
Which, when she said that one day, I said, okay, ... are you ready? And I did. I was like, and then I was like, So anyway.
So I snacked around a little bit because I was just
when you learn your gem and you see the weak part of it, don't see it as a weakness. See it as an opportunity to grow, is what I'm trying to say. So, and since Pearl is my primary, that's the one where I'm working the most on through personal development. So I'll let Michelle take the, if you pull it up, Michelle, or do you want me to read yours for you?
Oh, I can pull it up.
Here. Okay. It's in the.
I can read it.
Got it.
All right. So I'll tell you what, I think I have, depending on the day, I have different primary gems, because I am very ruby and I'm very sapphire. And I think that the more that I mature, the more ruby I become. Would you say that's true? Like the more that I mature, like I'm less sapphire and more ruby, and a little emerald. Yeah, that's the scary part, man. I feel like this weird emerald is kind of like a worm overtaking my body at times. It's crazy. So anyway, rubies, you might be ruby if your perfect gift is recognition or a status symbol, like a luxury brand. You don't like playing if you don't think you can win. You naturally gravitate toward leadership. You thrive off goals and challenges, and you can't stand complacency or a lack of drive. Now, this has actually been super hard for me in my marriage. Because I'm married to a pearl emerald, or an emerald pearl, just like Kelly. I'm basically married to Kelly, only it's a guy. But so I am very driven. Like, I will work until, if I want to clean a room, I will work until 2 a.m. until the carpets are scrubbed and every last bit of everything is organized, and there's not one bit of mess left. Like, that's how driven I am. If I'm like, we're going to clean, I mean, we're going to clean until there's not a spot left. And Trent's idea of clean is, well, let's just clean till it's clean enough, and let's go sit down and relax or something. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? It's not clean. So it's something that I've had to work on is, first of all, just knowing that that we don't have to keep going until it's perfect. So we're perfectionists. We're very much perfectionists, and we want it to be done right. And it has to be done best. It has to be done right, and it has to be done best. And it's hard to let go if it's not. So I've had to learn how to allow my house to get messy, and when I clean deeply, to learn to let certain things go, because it just doesn't have to be perfect. The other thing about that is recognition. When I first started this business, I cared so much about recognition. I mean, it meant the world to me, and my world thrived around it. So one of the things, the areas I've had to grow in, is knowing that you can't take rank to the bank. You know, as Summer says, she can't take rank to the bank. But at the same time, that it doesn't matter whether someone above me says that I'm awesome. I need to know in my own heart that I'm worthy, and especially with my own especially as a Christian, my relationship with God. So I've had to really let go of recognition, and over the last 4 years, those are huge lessons I've learned. The other part of me is Sapphire. You might be Sapphire if your perfect gift is a group experience or a game. You believe rules were made to be ignored, especially if they stop your fun. You love being in the limelight. Your desk is a mess, and you are always 10 minutes late. Your energy is contagious. You light up the room, and you spread positivity. So I do like it. That's the other thing about a Ruby. I will not, if I don't think I can win something, you can bet your bottom dollar there's no way I will even play the game. And I've had to try to work at that one, because I struggle with playing games other than Sorry with my kids, because I just have to flip a card versus strategy games, which strategy is not my strength, and I know that. So that's sort of like, that's why knowing ourselves and knowing why things set us off. But Sapphires love being in the limelight. If you're a karaoke girl and you love to get up and do karaoke, or you like to be in plays and you want to be seen, this is another reason why my husband and I are a perfect match. I've been in bands and stuff, and he just sits there and he's like, you're the best. He loves watching me, and I'm like, I'm so grateful we're not in competition, because this wouldn't end good. But with the Sapphire, the problems that we can face as a Sapphire. So first of all, we can really help lift others up, and we can help lighten the mood, and we can help pull everyone together. So that's a huge gift. The struggle that we have is trying not to always have to be the center of attention. And that's another lesson that I've had to learn. Sometimes a hard one, wanting to be the center of attention, and learning that it's not always about me. But Kelly likes the cooperative games where everyone wins. I want to play a game if I can win. And if I can't, like, Sorry, if I don't win, well, it's not my fault. It was the cards, right? So I'll play Sorry till the day. I love that game. So anyway, one of the things that has been really cool working with Kelly is coming to understand what gems are. But I want to tell you a real quick story of me being a Ruby Sapphire, and how I have come to understand Emerald Pearl a little more, because it's so opposite of who I am. So I don't know if you saw the picture today on our team page of Nikki Wheeler and her before and after. Some of you newer coaches may not know Nikki Wheeler as much, because she took about a year off. She got married, but she has been with this team basically from the beginning. And she and I went to Summit together a couple of years ago. We flew together and we stayed in the same, we stayed in different rooms, but we knew that when we were leaving together. Her personality is an emerald. I don't know what her second one is, but she's very, 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 very emerald. And so she was in the emerald room. That's right. That's right. That's the night that's the one where we were all, okay, I remember that one. So I got to meet Christy Vincent at that summit. But anyway, she's very organized. She runs a whole team of people in her business. And so when it was time to leave, I thought she said, we need to leave by 5:45 or 4:45 or whatever. So I got up 15 minutes before, knowing I could grab my stuff and be out there. But apparently she had said I had 15 minutes off. So when she called me, I was like, oh crap. I said, I thought you meant this. I'm on my way. I got there. And the first thing she said to me was, yeah, it's a good thing you came when you did, because I was about to leave you. And all I could think was, what? I'm alone in Vegas? A poor little girl alone in Vegas? And you're going to leave me and go to the airport by yourself? I was really angry at her. I was like, why would you do that? In my mind, I was like, what the heck? Well, as we got on the bus, she started to, and I'd heard all the gems before, but she started to explain. She says, I cannot miss this plane. If I miss this plane and I don't get back in time to get Timothy, then we can't drive to this other place where we have to pick up this person and then go to this thing and then that and then get to vacation on time. So it's the first time that I saw that emeralds don't have something shoved up their butts, that they actually have a reason they act that way. Because I like doing things spur of the moment. I was always just very much, oh, whatever, it's fine, show up or whatever. But I actually began to understand that when she saw me not showing up, all of a sudden she started to panic because she saw her missing the plane, her not getting to her son in time, them not being able to go on vacation, and all these other bad things happening. And the same can be then I started to realize, so when I'm late for something, then someone who's an emerald is seeing, well, we were supposed to start at this time, which means this was supposed to happen at that time. And now everything's starting to unravel throughout their entire day. Yes, exactly. Yes. Right. The emeralds. So anyway, it helped me as a sapphire to understand why RAs are, back in the dorm, who were the emeralds that wouldn't let you cross any lines, why they acted that way, and to have compassion towards them and to learn to love them where they're at, which was a huge step for me. Anyway, I'll let you talk for a little bit here.
I think that, and that's a couple of things I want to make sure I share, because it was something that the emerald part of my brain struggled with. This is what. So, these are qualities that we can categorize ourselves, but you're not defined by a gem. I laugh because I'm a pearl and the majority of my friends are ruby. And then I have some friends that are emerald and a few friends that are pearl. You know what I'm saying? And I think I was wondering, why is that and everything? And I realized it's because a lot of times we're attracted by things that are opposite of each other because we bring out each other's strengths. So that's one thing that's kind of cool. Like my husband's a ruby emerald and I'm a pearl emerald. And, he helps rubies and pearls are opposite of each other, but they have similarities. Like they're both motivated by leadership, but one wants to be in charge and the other one wants to help the person in charge, if you know what I'm saying. And like sapphires and emeralds are opposite of each other, but they complement each other in a lot of ways, because sapphires, as much as they want to be in the middle of attention and stuff, there's a part of them that needs somebody to help them keep order, and for emeralds, they need someone to sometimes stretch them to let go of the checklist and have a little bit of fun. And so when I first thought I was I remember some people, sometimes they'll take the test or whatever and be like, you're two opposite gems, normally, especially if you're a temperament, and if you're an emerald or a melancholic temperament, you're like, that's not possible. That's against the rules. Like I remember the first time I took a temperament test, it said I was a melancholic sanguine. And someone was like, that you can't do that unless you're like bipolar. I was like, whoa, well, that person was a melancholic, which is an emerald. And I was trying to figure out the test, which was freaking me out because that's how I realized a part of me is emerald, because I was reading into the questions too much. And my point is, what I've learned is there's still pieces of me that are a little bit sapphire, and there are pieces of me that are a little ruby. Like when we go on vacation or like a retreat weekend, when it's super planned and structured, I don't get stressed about following the plan. I get more laid back because there already is a plan and there's enough people there to lead it that I kind of become kind of like, okay, let's just roll with it. Like on vacation, my husband wants to know where we're going to dinner every night. He wants the suitcases packed like a week before. He wants like everything laid out. And I'm like, well, let's just sleep in and grab lunch. And because to me, that's just a part of me learning to let go. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like I'm 24/7 have to be this or have to be that. So if you read it and we're like, well, I'm not really like that. Like I'm not playing around in Excel spreadsheets. That doesn't mean that isn't a quality you have. That makes sense. And you'll find too that sometimes, like I was raised by a sapphire. My mom is a total sapphire pearl. And I thought and still to this day, I think she's one of the most incredible women on this world. So I tried for the longest time to be a sapphire. Like I just thought I needed to be one. And I was crazy cuckoo in high school and college trying to be center of attention and all this stuff. And I felt very uncomfortable, but this is what you had to do because my dad is a ruby emerald and I never could be as good as my dad. He's the most organized man. I mean, I thought all men would have their shoes like color coded and their socks color coded and their shirts all pressed in their closet till I got married and realized that's not the case. You know, my husband doesn't do that. So my point was, I realized that that's why I was like not sure of my gem. And the more I've come to know myself, the more I've learned to embrace who I am and also respect my husband better. Like he's not a pearl. Everyone thought he was forever because what happens when rubies get burned out, they morph into a pearl. And like for like a few years, he got burned out with his work and he became a doormat for everybody because he didn't believe in himself. And now I'm seeing his ruby pop back out and it's kind of nice because I can affirm it because I know that's who he really is. And I know he needs affirmation and recognition. That's not as important to me as it is to him. So when you're reading them, don't think you have to fit the mold perfect. And don't think there aren't going to be times that like a little sapphire might pop out or a little ruby. Like I get competitive sometimes with myself, but I mean, man, you let me play a game of like cranium with a group of people, I don't want to lose. Like you know what I'm saying? So it can happen. And that's what's beautiful about it. These are just ways to learn our qualities, not to feel like, you know, and then like Michelle said, not to think like emeralds have a stick up their ass, you know what I'm saying? Like, or not to think that sapphires are.
I even told people that. I'm like, oh my God.
Or not to think that sapphires are so crazy, they can't ever succeed. You know, because if you have a child that's a sapphire, you have to learn how to motivate them. And this is how it can help us even with our challengers. If I have a challenger that's a sapphire, I'm not going to send them the prep checklist that has all this stuff on it. They would freak out because that's not motivating them. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's not because there's something wrong with them. Like my son who's a sapphire needs bite-sized pieces fed to him. You know what I mean? And my other daughter who's an emerald wants the whole plant. She doesn't like to be given pieces. She needs to know how it's going to end, you know? And so it's really cool because you can continue to learn. You can read stuff online about the gems or the temperaments or personality plus, whatever method. Because of our training is passed down from Summer, and she studies a lot of stuff from Danny Johnson. We've just always stuck with the gems as kind of the names of stuff. But it's really fascinating to learn. That's the world coming out, you know, so, but don't feel stuck. Like if you're like, well, I'm opposites, well, then just start thinking more about who you are and how your experience is and be thankful, you know, for how you've been created.
You know, someone asked John C. Maxwell on one of our calls that we were on, we were being mentored by him last year or the year before. They asked him what was one of the best book that he knew that was written by a woman author. And he said, actually, one of the best books on my shelf was written by a woman author. And he said, it's Personality Plus. So if you want to understand personalities, I would definitely recommend this book. And when they talk about colors and everything, once you understand I like the title of the gems too, because I think it makes more sense to understand it. It's kind of fun to use that name. But like Kelly was saying, whether you're talking melancholic, phlegmatic, or red, green, you know, whatever it is, a lot of times it's all about the same thing. It's getting to understand parts of our personality and not pigeonholing ourselves. So while Kelly said, Kelly used to be really mad when I would tell her, Kelly, I really don't think that you're sapphire. I really think that you're emerald. And she would get so hurt when I said that. And we had this conversation because of what her dad, and it's really funny because when we get into retreat planning, I'm not emerald at all, hardly. But when we get into retreat planning mode, I am all emerald. Like, I'm the one who's like, no, guys, back on task. We have to go through this list. We have to set this in. So it's important not to pigeonhole ourselves and say, I'm this and I'm not that. I'm all pearl. When I'm talking to somebody, a friend of mine, and she's sharing her heart, like, all I want to do is help her make it better. And I want to make the world better for her. So I think looking at what our main ones are, and then looking to see, or knowing that we can change over time.
Yeah. And I think too, like, knowing that that's why you want to provide different things to your team. Like when we provide prizes, well, that's to motivate the rubies, like or emeralds. Like a lot of times, I mean, I don't know, I love prizes too, but my point is, like, or if you want to shout out people for certain things, like you want to recognize people to validate them from what's going to help them, like in our challenge groups. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have a pearl that's a challenger and you sent them a handwritten card, it's going to mean the world to them. It'll mean the world to all of them. But my point is just, you know what I'm saying? It's a way to give that Nordstrom service. And in your families, like, honestly, this is one of the skills in the business that also can spill over into your family life in a really awesome way. Because when I started treating my husband like the gem hit like a root, I mean, he was like wondering what was going on because I thought he was a pearl like me, And so my point is, we were hoping tonight, and if you guys have any questions, this would kind of give some insight as you learn more about yourself. Like Sarah Kroger is on date night tonight, but she was saying she had a similar revelation, like, and she'll probably share something about this, but she's like, I thought anyone that was an emerald was just a broken emerald. Because that's how, and even you said that, Rebecca, the other day when I was like, yeah, I wasn't good, because my dad was a perfectionist and I couldn't measure up and bounce a quarter off my bed. I thought there's no way I can't be that. And you're like, well, yeah, because he was an emerald, And so I was like, oh.
I think that's Ruby, man. Bouncing a quarter off your bed.
He's a ruby emerald, my dad. You know what I'm saying? But
I would love to be able to bounce a quarter off my bed. It's the way, like when I make my bed, man, it's perfect.
But, so my point is, like, it's cool that you'll discover these things. Like for me, my big moment was that I realized that when I blow up and lose my temper and act crazy, like, why? And that's the part of me I need to grow. But at least now I know why. Because I've been praying for like a year and a half, like, why do I keep losing my temper? And then it was a big aha, like, oh, I need boundaries, So, yeah, jelly bracelets. Like I gave out jelly bracelets for prize one time. I love to give. That's love languages is a whole other call. But we'll
right? We need to do that too. Hey, if anybody would be motivated by a Turbo Fire shirt, let me know. Maybe I'll do some. I have a drawer full of Turbo Fire and T25 shirts that my husband bought on clearance at Peabody conference, and I'm like, what the heck am I going to do?
Yeah, we could totally do something on the love languages. I'm going to get ready to reread the book, Love Languages for Your Kids. I love that. And we can all take the test even, that's a fun thing. Do you guys have any questions? So it's 9:34, and I'm going to try to be,
The one thing that I've noticed is when I have a challenger who's a pearl and she falls off, she goes crickets. Like she completely goes away because she feels like she's let me down. Because I'm like, go, go, go. You can do it. You can do it. And if she falls off or messes up or doesn't eat right, whatever, stops exercising, she won't come back to me. Like I have a really hard time drawing somebody back to me who's a pearl who was willing to try. And then when she fails, she's like, I just can't do it. I can't go back. I've disappointed you and I don't know what to do now. And I'm still trying to figure out how to draw them back to me because I don't want them to give up. But when they fall off, they just don't even respond to messages anymore.
That, I'm glad you brought that up, Angie, because that's something I've thought about too, because one difference of me being a pearl, because of my circumstances being raised, I always had to get myself back up off the ground. Mm-hmm. So even for me being a pearl, when I have challengers or coaches who are, I have to remember not everybody had that dynamic.
Right. They just like hide.
Yeah. So just affirming and telling, because I have quite a few people that I still talk to them, but they haven't come back to do a group. But I keep saying like, I'm not giving up on you. Like, yeah, but that's a really good point.
Or you haven't disappointed me, or it's fine. You can come. Like I try all the different angles, like to bring them back into the fold. And I have a very hard time with that. I'm definitely not a pearl, so it's a little harder for me to access that. Like, it's all right. Like,
I would almost
come on.
reach out to someone who's super pearl like that, or post on a page or some on the Team Courage or Team Fearless and ask someone. Because I remember asking my friend Tammy, and maybe she's a pearl, maybe this is what it is, but I remember asking her that when she never responded after she said she was going to buy a challenge pack and then disappeared, and then months later she ended up buying one. And so couple years after that, I asked her, I said, hey, just out of curiosity, when you were crickets, what was going on there? She said, she said exactly that. She said, I was probably just really embarrassed that I realized I couldn't afford it. And yeah, it'd be really interesting to see, okay, how can you get someone to respond in that case?
Yeah, so anybody who's a pearl,
I'm a
has
pearl.
any insight into that? Because
I'm a pearl. I'm not really sure about that, but Sarah's my coach, and I know like I would never do challenges with her because I was afraid to lead her on. Like I felt like if I did a challenge, I would be leading her on. And I was like, I don't want to take advantage of you or like, make you think that I was like, I don't want to take up your time for free challenges or whatever. So, I mean, she just kind of let me have my time, and she would check in on me every once in a while. And then when I was ready, I was like, hey, Sarah, I want to be your coach. I just like one day, I don't think she was expecting it at all. So I think time is a good thing. Yeah. And just like checking in periodically,
Yeah.
I agree with you, April, because I think even with me, I need someone to be patient with me. So I feel like I'm not being pushed, because when I feel like I'm being pushed, my personality shuts off. Like Michelle knows that. If I feel someone
Don't tell Kelly to do something.
I won't. Like part of me, because it's a part of it's a trust thing. Part of it's just being patient, like you're saying, Angie. I think it just takes that time to necessarily show you're going to be there, like you're staying, which is why like with opposites of like a pearl and a sapphire who wants to just go, or a pearl and emerald rubies, or just, I'm saying, like understanding it's just a difference. Because I think most of us that are pearls will probably be like, yeah, we watched the person for about a year, and then we eventually said something, and then we ignored them for about a month. And so now that you're a pearl, when someone does it to you, remember, like, oh, wait, I did that too. So.
Right. Yeah, don't tell Kelly. Like Kelly and I will joke. We try to tell each other, oh, you should read this book or you should read that book, and then it takes us like a year or two before we actually pick up the book. We're getting better about it, though.
Yeah, and you're right, Amanda. Like pearls value the relationship first. Like I'm the sit by the like grab a cup of tea and crochet a blanket with me and let's talk for a while and get to know each other. Because I want to, know that I'm in a safe place, kind of thing. So
when you're looking at accountability partners, guys, I feel like because Kelly and I have been able to work so well together, finding someone who's opposite of you to help draw you out and to balance each other out, I could be wrong, Kelly, but I would think that would be a great way to find someone that you might really be able to not only connect with, but to help grow, because they can help you in areas that you're weak, and you can help them in areas that they're weak. So I know my desk is a lot cleaner today than it was whenever I first started this business. And I'm a lot more, I'm learning, but it's because I have a great accountability partner who can, yes, as long as you're both driven towards goals, and that's true. And Kelly and I are both goal driven. We both want to get to where we're at, but we're able to learn from each other. So what's that?
My goals.
Yeah.
They're always on my computer. That's my emerald.
Kelly told me to put my wins from last year in my binder, so I did.
Yep.
She's getting a little ruby in her.
I think it's good for you to find someone, and as long as you are in a place where like you give each other permission to push or to say, because that's the only thing. Michelle and I have been coaching, 4 years this summer. But I started my first challenge with her like in May of 2013. And it took me until last year to be able to own it when I was mad and tell her. You know what I'm saying?
Was it last year?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Because I was on the soccer fields and I was texting you, and
It
I'm
was
like,
this past year.
"You have got to tell me, or I'm going to run over you." And I
After
want you to
Summit.
stand up to me.
And I'm telling you this because I'm so thankful for this growth. I remember the day. I remember how I felt. I thought I was going to vomit. I was like, Courtney, she wants me to tell her the truth.
I know exactly where I was standing on the soccer field. I'm like, Kelly's telling me the truth. She's finally telling me the truth. Now we
as
can
a
talk.
leader, I would love for you to be there sooner. You know what I mean? Like it took me, but that's what God had to do. And that's why in this business, I feel like he's prepared me to receive the team that I have, but I had to go through this stuff first because I can't really help people if I can't put those boundaries up. Like I've got to learn. And even, you know, and the other area with Pearls is we have to learn to hear criticism and not think it's taking away from the value of us, you know? And so, but yeah, so opposites are great as long as you don't have a problem, sharing. So you want it to be feel safe enough to do that and have the same goals. Otherwise you're going to waste a lot of time being friends, which is great. But if you're trying to build a business, it's going to be really hard. So you have to, you know, kind of have a plan to go.
And I was just say, as a Ruby, sorry, Kelly, I totally just kept interrupting you. But as a Ruby, I think one of the things, if you're working with someone who's an Emerald or a Pearl, is stepping back and allowing someone else to lead. It doesn't come naturally, but it is such a great growing point to do that, and to realize that allowing someone else to lead does not mean that you are less than or not as good as. And that's something that us natural Rubies, it's just part of who we are. Like, oh, well, I'm supposed to lead. If someone else is leading, it means I'm not as good as them, or I'm not, but learning that it's okay to compliment each other, which has been a really awesome lesson on my end learned.
Do you guys have any questions about any of this? Because I don't, I mean, this is obviously something we could talk about all night, which we're not going to do. But if you have any questions, I think, you know, the only last thought I want to say is, like, when you figure out your gem or wherever you are, that's your leadership strength too. You know what I mean? So learning to develop it is really important, because know that, like, if you're a Ruby, you've got leadership strengths, but they always, like that Danny Johnson would say, but like a 7th grade level, when you discover it, you got to develop it to be like, you know, Maxwell says, you're at a 2, you got to get yourself up to a 10. Or when I was a Pearl, like, because I didn't have boundaries, I was not a high functioning Pearl. I had to, and it's uncomfortable, but think about the growth that you can have and pass on. This is my Pearl coming out to your team, to your challengers. Like, you can make an impact on people if you can help them discover this about themselves. Like, if you went live in your challenge group and talked about this, your challengers might start thinking about what motivates them. You know what I'm saying? So this is how you can also carry this into adding value and helping others grow.
Someone asked if we should take it again. I took it 2 years ago when I became a coach, or right after I became a coach a year and a half ago. And I took it again today, and they were actually different. And I think it's because why I started the business was different from what I thought it was. I thought it was to help people. And while that's part of it, that wasn't my main motivating factor. I found out after 2 years, this is not the only thing. Like, there's a lot of other stuff that I like about the business that doesn't have to do with just helping people. So it went from being Pearl, Sapphire to something else to what it was today. But it was Sapphire Pearl before, and that's not what it is today.
What is it today?
Ruby.
I would see you as like a Ruby Emerald.
It's actually Ruby Sapphire.
Ruby, okay.
Oh my gosh, I totally knew it.
But it's because I like the leadership thing. I like helping people out, but I like helping people achieve their goals by kind of being a little pushy and not just letting that just being all nicey nice. And that is, it kind of has brought out those strengths in me, where when I was a counselor, I had to be very Pearl. And I thought that's what this was taking the place of for me. And it is, but I'm doing it in a different way. And I love being able to do it in a different way, because I don't have to meet people in such a hard place. I can meet them when they're healthy. And so I can be a little bit more forceful with them.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit more of who I actually am.
Yeah.
And I found that out today when I took the test. I was like, oh, look at that. This is a different, but this feels more like me.
Right.
Than that did.
That's awesome.
So I guess what I was saying was you should retake it.
Yeah. And I would say like Carissa, they always say when you take a temperament test, like it's the temperament you're born with, you know what I mean? But because, and this is what it was explained with GEMS, it's like we could be groomed by different people. So like when I thought I was a melancholic sanguine, it's because I was raised by a sanguine. Does that make sense? So it's more like I think it's almost like when you retake it, we might not have changed, our gem might not have changed, but we've just almost like polished and understand ourselves better. So we're, you know what I mean? So like if I took a temperament test now, I would be a phlegmatic melancholic, but when I first took it, every time I've taken it was different. And now I think it would be consistently that, just because I know myself better. Does that make sense? And I also know I was raised with this idea of certain things that impacted the way I thought I should answer things versus how I really do. Mm-hmm. So I think it's good to revisit, because like if you ever go to the First Steps conference that I went to that did it, people will sometimes sit in different areas to see what it feels like to be talked to as that gem, which is kind of interesting. You know what I mean? But because when she addresses people, she addresses them as the gem. Well, I was sitting across from the rubies, and when I heard her talking to them, that's how I had the aha. That's how my husband is. Does that make sense? So retaking it is good, like Angie said, because like I thought I was a pearl sapphire, and I would argue it for the first 2 years, and then I finally took it again. I'm like, oh no, it's because I was raised by a sapphire these are the things I thought were the right things, So you're becoming ruby emerald. Well, the other thing is everybody has a little bit of every gem in them. Like everybody has, like they always say, like Jesus was a balance of the 4 temperaments, I don't think any of us are that good, but
my husband's the balance of the 4 temperaments. He's like Jesus.
Yeah. Just don't tell them, and they'll have like a God complex and not be like Jesus. But you do have those in you, which is kind of cool, because it can come out like at different times. So any emeralds? Oh, yeah. When I become a nesting pregnant woman, my emerald goes into overdrive. Exactly. And like you see things like Angie's organizational thing on her wall, you know what I mean? And you might see that and be like, oh, she's emerald. Well, it doesn't mean a ruby can't be organized. That's the other thing. Don't say, well, I'm a sapphire, I can't be organized. That's not true. It just might take more discipline. Or a pearl, I can't be assertive. No, I just have to learn it. Does that make sense? So
my desk is fairly clean comparatively. I think I'm becoming an emerald.
So, well, it's 9:48, guys. Does anybody else have anything? No, I don't want to keep you guys forever.
Hey, Kelly. When you're getting this information from your challengers, like I know like you can send them stuff to figure out what the challenge group is about and things like that. But now that you're doing like the 365 groups, are you focusing more on like this stuff right away? Just because it seems like it's a little less, I don't know. I feel like our challenge groups aren't as like intense with other daily like challenges. Does that make sense? So now I think we can focus a little bit more on this stuff.
Yeah. My Monday, I go live every Monday now. If you don't know how to go live, Michelle made a really good tutorial on how to use YouTube Live to go live in the app.
Okay.
My live video is always a personal development focus. We do as coaches each take turns posting each day, like a fit tip or a nutrition tip or a healthy meal. But I would say our videos are all personal development focused.
Okay.
So like we did our little weekly Zoom tonight, and it was on how to get out of a slump. And I talked about PD and an emergency checklist. And so I think it would be fun even in the next few weeks, like Rebecca, we could, and Bethany, whoever else in our group, we could talk about personalities. I think this is good stuff. Tara Carr.
You do that for your challenge groups? You do a Zoom?
Every other week we host a Zoom, like 20 minutes, and we just get in and powwow and then record it and then post it. And a handful of people show up, but a lot of people watch it.
Okay, and then are you able to post that Zoom?
Mm-hmm. I just upload it to YouTube and then I put it in the group.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. And we should do a call in the next couple of weeks of stuff we're doing in the apps to help everybody out.
I think so, because I like ours, but I feel like it's more of a just be accountable, not so much as like the challenge groups were. And I remember doing my first one, and I liked the activities of it, like the dream board and things like that, because that's stuff that really like changed, So okay.
Yeah. we could definitely do something on that because I think it would be good. I think PD, this stuff, Tara Carr talked about how she does this with her coaches. And even I thought about like love languages and a challenger. Because if you're giving your challenger skills and improve their life outside of fitness, you're adding a lot of value to their life. Like I have all my challengers read PD. Like I help them find a book or I get them a book and just I think it's important. So yeah, I'll write that down so don't forget, Michelle. We can plan a call on app. Thank you for asking that. Anybody else? Do we have anything we're supposed to announce?
To watch the team wake up call from this morning.
Well, some of us are doing a 5-day shake for breakfast starting Monday.
Oh yeah.
Kelly's running one. I'm running one.
Yes. And yes, I haven't listened to the National Wake Up Call, but apparently it was amazing because Angie and Rebecca and Sarah were blowing up a message about it in the team page. And I was like, what? But I didn't.
Someone had 62 SC points.
Yes. They were like, I got to up my game.
That's what I said. That's exactly what I said. I have to up my game. That's exactly what I said.
And she hadn't even been a coach, like a few months?
Second month in the business.
Second month in the business.
It was a team cup month.
Market.
It was a team cup month, and her coach said, I want you on my team, but you have to get 50 SC points and you have to go Ruby. And she's like, okay. And she did.
Dude, I would never tell somebody that. That's not Pearl.
Second month in the business. I was like, oh.
So ladies, the bar is set high for the next 30 days. The bar is set very, very high.
All the pearls are running and hiding under their pillows. I'm like,
I
just got my thing from Beachbody that says you've helped this many people and you got this many points last year. And I'm like, I didn't even get 62 all of last year.
It doesn't matter. Angie, we are meeting on Wednesday and you're going to get 50 before the end of February.
And she's selling the, the all access challenge packs. Let's give her the extra points. You've got to put that into the equation too.
That was last August that she got.
Shh. I'm trying to help you.
Oh man.
No, but we do get 2 SD points now for Shakeology.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's the big nice news. Is
that's because of people, especially if someone's doing all access, it makes sense if they want to upgrade and get Shakeology for us to not have to.
We still only get 2 points for all access,
right?
Starting in March, but we get 2 points now starting in March for Shakeology, which is great because we've only ever gotten 1.
Well, that makes sense because Shakeology is the big thing that we're trying to sell.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
All right, guys. This I feel like I gotta put up a boundary and shut the party down.
Holly wants a party.
I'm already in bed. I'm gonna log off and
when Angie gets 50 SC points, we're gonna have a Zoom party.
We will throw a slumber party.
Angie, do it.
At my house. Very little organization. No pets.
I want all
I'll get
the
rid
shirts.
of the guinea pig for you.
If I can get 50 SC points, I get all the shirts.
You get all of them.
If you get 50 SC points, I will design you your own custom-made shirt. You tell me what. Sarah Kroger's getting one when she turns diamond that says, do it for the redhead, or do what the redhead says. Or
do it for the redhead. Yeah.
Not do it for the redhead.
Not do the redhead.
Yeah, I'm going to cut this off now.
All right, I gotta go.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.